Hello and welcome to St. Anthony Falls Journal. Well, we're on the corner of Broadway and Marshall Street Northeast in Northeast Minneapolis, and we're visiting a remarkable institution, Northeast Bank. Northeast Bank has been a great corporate citizen of this whole area in Northeast Minneapolis and the greater metropolitan area in the state of Minnesota for a long period of time. It's a very special place and a very special program today, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. We'll be right back. Well, we're very fortunate to have Tom Beck, who is the Chief President and CEO of Northeast Banks. It's a delight to have you.
Thank you,
Tom.
John. Pleasure to be with you.
Well, this is a great story, the story of Northeast Bank. And this used to be the town of St. Anthony. And the history of this goes back
A little before me. Just a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit.
But it's a great location.
It's a great location.
And how did it all get started?
As you know, I mean, the genesis of Northeast Bank is over on 13th Avenue, kitty corner from where you got, real
Got
close
my
to
first loan.
Got your first loan. It's now a Dangerous Man. So, and I think it still has it up on the 13th
Yep.
Avenue still. So that's 1947. I think Walter Rasmussen bought it in the early 50s. And the genesis is a couple guys from the neighborhood thought there should be a local community bank. And so they started it up. Walter Rasmussen bought it in the early 50s, moved to this location in, I believe, 62. So we've been here, and then we doubled the size of this place probably about 20 plus years ago.
And this isn't the only bank.
No, we have a location in Coon Rapids. We've been there over 25 years. And we had one in Columbia Heights, but through a number of circumstances, we had to relocate. We just moved one community over into New Brighton. So now we're on Silver Lake Road in New Brighton as well.
I think a Northeast Bank is kind of an icon. And it's next to another icon.
Yes,
again,
it is.
Greenbelt
Yes, it
Brewery
is. Yes, it
across
is.
the street. And but it's been a great corporate citizen, hasn't it?
Well, it's our mission. It's kind of what drove Walter. Walter Rasmussen was about giving back to the community, and even our gardens and our grounds that we have was sort of trying to have a nice place for the Northeast community to be proud of. Walter's other driving force, and we're a small business bank, was he loved entrepreneurs. He loved to help guys, help people that had a dream, kind of reach for the ring, go for the ring, and get them there. And it's still what we do.
And there's still Rasmussens involved.
Yeah, so Walter passed in 91. Belva had been a little bit involved in the bank, so Belva Rasmussen came in and took over for Walter. And Walter was involved in everything. He was an old school guy. He was going to have every aspect of the business. Belva was more of a delegator, so she came in and needed her management team to kind of step up and help her more, which created a different dynamic for the bank. But the fundamental core value, core mission that we have never changed.
The Rasmussen tradition is still with this institution, and kind of proudly. And they are more than just a bank, more than just a neighborhood bank. They're kind of an institution here, and everybody knows about them. And there's a great trust factor with Northeast Bank.
Even in our staff, we have 16, 17, 18 people that have been here over 25 years. So we have that kind of longevity that's built up, the relationships that have been established with our customers, with the community. Our staff volunteers somewhere around 4,000 hours a year into our community of volunteer hours. So it's part and parcel to just what we are and what we do. And we believe the stronger the community, the stronger we will be. So it's a synergy that we try to develop.
I noticed my spies found for me a publication, and it says 2016 Banker of the Year. 2016 Banker of the Year in the Financial Review. And there's you.
Dang, yes, how about that? It was a very nice honor. It's probably more a statement about our bank than me. I was very humbled and honored to get this designation, and it's a banking magazine that covers the upper Midwest, about 10 states. Part of me thought it was just attrition. If you're around long enough, John, they have to come, they'll find you sooner or later. But it's a statement really kind of about our bank and what we do. And I just happen to be in the position of being able to, having the privilege of running the place. But it's kind of an acknowledgement of how we've, there's been some economic up and downs, how we've survived, persevered, helped our customers get through, kept our employee base going, and I think that's really what that's about.
It's well earned.
Thank you.
And
Very
I think
kind.
that the fact that you're a local person, a Hennepin County guy.
Yes.
I mean, you grew up in Bloomington,
I
right?
did, yes.
So, I mean, you have a feel for this neighborhood and who these people are.
I didn't know much about it till I started working here in 1978 and have fallen head over heels in love with it. We've seen a lot of changes in the neighborhood
Right.
for the good. I mean, real positive changes. It's thriving, it's vibrant, and for whatever small role we may have played in that, we're incredibly proud of that. It's happening. Northeast is kind of a happening place.
We had lunch a while back,
Right.
you and I, and you told me that it was fun to go to work.
Absolutely.
And not everybody can say that.
No, I think it's the culture we have here. It's being part of the Northeast community. It's not a job. You know, I really don't work. I mean, I come in here. I have great
like
people.
family.
It is. I have great people I get to work, and the Rasmussens kind of created that culture in the organization. I mean, we all are part of the extended family. To be honest with you.
Well, they're lucky to have you here.
Oh, you're nice. Thank you.
And it's a real delight to be able to chat with you about the bank and its role in this neighborhood, this proud old neighborhood.
Yeah, and a little bit, I think, where we're going, you know, we will grow, we will expand, we're very judicious, we're very conservative in our growth, but the thing that will never change is what we're about, our mission, about being part of the community, about being a community bank, getting down to the grassroots. That's why we're in business. That's why we exist. The satisfaction that we get from helping small businesses, working with small businesses, working with individual customers and watching them grow or giving them an opportunity to grow it makes it all worth it.
There's a lot of dignity in this old neighborhood.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just a great story. We thank you for
Thank
allowing
you.
us to chat with you here this morning. And we wish you the very best, and we're going to see you real soon.
All right,
Thank you,
John.
Tom Beck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Chris Amundson. I'm the Executive Director of the American Craft Council. The American Craft Council moved from New York City to Minneapolis in 2010, and we brought with us our research library here in Northeast Minneapolis, and we are a nonprofit educational institution that runs juried craft shows, that produces a magazine called American Craft. We publish a journal called American Craft Inquiry, and we do awards and other education programs for the public. We have located here in Northeast Minneapolis because not only of the wonderful art community, but also it's such an engaged community around contemporary American craft. So we're just very pleased to be here. Northeast Bank, first of all, is a wonderful institution. I remember it growing up in this area. They've been a cornerstone institution in the Northeast area for many, many, many years. I keep on thinking of it as Northeast State Bank, so that goes back quite a ways. They've been supportive of the Craft Council by promoting our programs to their customers at the bank. They've supported our nonprofit series, the Salon series, and supported what we call the Craft Cage Match, which has been a lot of fun, where we bring in craft luminaries to kind of compete in different craft type of activities. I've been in nonprofit world for a number of years, and Northeast Bank has been one of those banks that has been supportive of different developments, nonprofit developments, in addition to supporting nonprofits with grants that are active for nonprofits that are active in the Northeast area.
Well, we're very fortunate to have Gail Mikulich here, and she's the Chief Operating Officer of Northeast Banks, which is a big job. And she is a hard worker. She worked her way up from, I think, being a teller, didn't you, Gail?
Yes, I actually started as an intern about 31 years ago. I was supposed to be at the bank for 4 weeks, and after 3 weeks, they hired me to be a teller.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was 1986, and 31 years later, here I am.
Well, I'll bet you it was a great trip.
It was. There's been a lot of opportunity here. It's been a great place to work. Tom has done a great job of creating an awesome culture that people really enjoy being part of.
We're talking about Tom Beck.
Tom Beck, my boss for the last 31 years in some form. He's been a great leader of this organization, and of course Belva too, in her role, has played a huge part in what's made us a really unique place to be.
And that, of course, is Eva Rasmussen.
Right.
The Rasmussen family really created this system, didn't they?
They did, starting with Walter.
Mm-hmm.
And then upon his passing, Belva became the chair of the board. and she's always had a very strong commitment to the community. She loves helping people and helping the community to thrive, and so it's been a really good fit for her.
Yeah, you know, the phrase comes to mind, corporate citizen, and that's really what Northeast Banks is. It's a great corporate citizen because they're a bank, yes, but banking organization, I've come to find out, are as different as fingerprints. And some are just banks and that's it. But this place is an institution. Everybody knows about it. It's part of the neighborhood. It's like family, isn't it?
It is. We really have a strong feeling towards our community. We look at the community members as being our family members. We like to be socially responsible. When we finance a project or finance a loan, we see it as helping people have their dreams.
Well, I asked
true.
my friends to spy a little bit and find out what you're up to.
Okay.
And I found out that you won a big award, an appointment. Can you tell us about that?
Well, in June of 2016, I became the chair of the Minnesota Bankers Association.
Wow.
So the Minnesota Bankers Association is an association for banks. About 95% of the banks in Minnesota belong to the Minnesota Bankers Association. Been around about 128 years. We really just work on educating bankers, providing regulatory guidance and legal educational opportunities, and then, of course, lobbying efforts.
And that organization is the more local, smaller banks. I mean, there's big national banks, international banks in Minnesota, but this organization is the independent banks, isn't it?
Well, the Minnesota Bankers Association actually has large banks as members as well, but the majority of the over 300 banks in the state of Minnesota are independently small banks throughout, the rural communities, throughout all the communities in Minnesota. So really playing a vital role in creating jobs and opportunities for people throughout the state.
I imagine you go to the legislature and the governor's office and talk to people in high office.
Annually, we do go down to the Capitol in St. Paul and visit with the legislators down there. And then this year, as the chair, I had the opportunity to actually go to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Twice this year and visit with some of our legislators in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because that's constantly changing, isn't it? You constantly have to be with it and know what's going on in the state legislature and in the national government.
Right. We feel that there's been a lot of regulation put on banks, and of course there needed to be some regulations put on banks with Dodd-Frank, but it's also hurt, we feel, consumers and tied the hands of a lot of community bankers who were just there trying to help the people that they're there to serve, and made their paperwork go from this amount to this amount, which really isn't helping. So we're just this year really focusing on asking for, it's called the Taylor Act, asking that they regulate banks based on their size and complexity and the risk that they bring.
I mentioned that banking organizations, although they have a lot in common, also are different as fingerprints. And how is Northeast different from other banks? I know it has a great community outreach program.
Right. So definitely that, and then as I mentioned before, the culture that's been created, first with Belva at the head and then with Tom Beck as our president and CEO. He really sets a tone of this being a family, if you will, where we all respect each other and we help each other out when we need to be helped out. A supportive but challenging culture, somewhere where we want to be the best that we can be. And so I think it's really the culture and the relationships that we build not only with each other within the bank, but the relationships that we build with people outside.
Well, I was born and raised here in this neighborhood, and when I grew up here, it was a blue-collar neighborhood, working people with a lot of dignity, and that worked hard and succeeded. They succeeded very well. A lot of people from Europe after the war, and tell me about this evolution of going from that kind of a blue-collar setting to what it is now with all these arts organizations. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so when I started in 1986, it was kind of like what you just talked about, a lot of that generation. And so over the 31 years, really seen a revitalization of the area, starting with the Grain Belt Brewery being redone and the expansion.
Which is right across the street.
Right across the street from us. It looks beautiful.
It does.
And, you know, it kind of started with that, and the growth of business in this area. It's a completely different place than it was when I first started, a completely different place than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. But it's so nice to see how a neighborhood revitalizes itself and becomes so important to the state.
Well, and you have kind of a vast portfolio of stuff to do, don't you? I mean, I think you're responsible for the grounds and the banks and you know, all kinds of things. What does your job include?
Well, it's a variety, much more so than some of the other positions probably in the bank. I oversee IT, marketing, compliance, the universal bankers and the tellers, but I also get involved with things like we just built a new location in New Brighton, and I oversaw the construction of that branch. I do all the insurance for the bank. Recently, I actually wrote a leadership development plan for the bank as well. So I get to do a variety of things. It's different every day. It makes it exciting to come in because you just never know what each day is going to bring.
Well, we're really lucky to have you on our show today, and we want to thank you for stopping by and chatting with us and telling us more about this marvelous institution. Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, John.
We'll be right back.
My name is Rich Janik. I'm the Hennepin County Sheriff. And more importantly, I'm a born and raised Northeast kind of kid. I was born and raised not far from here. In fact, I spent a lot of time down here on 2nd Street and 13th. This is my 34th year in law enforcement. I knew growing up that I wanted to be a police officer serving the community in which I was born and raised. I was the commander of the East Side Precinct, called the 2nd Precinct on 18th and Central Northeast. A number of people from the community came to me and asked how we might be able to do something that might recognize the service of the men and women in law enforcement here serving Northeast Minneapolis. And so we came up with the East Side Guardian project. We contacted a sculptor who was able to put that together, but that was the easy part. The hard part was the funding and the support from the communities. So folks like Northeast Bank, Sioux, and many others from the local civic groups, Rotary and Lions and others came together, raised the money in order to put that East Side Guardian statue out in front of the 2nd Precinct. The Northeast Bank was both the funder for it, but also the catalyst. I mean, through Sue and her involvement at the bank, being a good Northeast girl, and I'd known her for a number of years growing up over here, she was one of the community icons that we could go to. The bank has always been kind of the core component of the community itself, and so it was easy to go to them and work out this partnership between public-private. Private being Northeast State Bank itself, public being the Minneapolis Police Department, and the community in which we serve together.
We're very fortunate to have Eva Rasmussen, who is Senior Vice President of Northeast Banks. Is that right? Do I have that right?
The Senior Vice President of Strategy and Electronic Banking.
Yes. And what does that mean?
So what that means is I'm responsible for looking at what are the different products and services that we should offer. So I study different information about banking, other industries, customers, markets to decide what we should be offering to give our customers the functionality and convenience that they need, along with the appropriate level of security, still married together with that personalized level of service that they expect from the bank.
When we were visiting before, you told me that you learned all that at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Maybe not, but you're from that area originally.
I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, but then I did my undergrad in business at Georgetown, studying finance and international business.
That must have been fun. That's a great institution.
It is. It's a wonderful place.
Now, the Rasmussen family is a storied family in Northeast Minneapolis, and they've been such a wonderful corporate citizen and done so much, not only as a business, but as an outreach organization into the neighborhood and doing so many good things. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Rasmussen family involved in Northeast banks?
Well, I know from the very beginning of the bank, it was very important that there needed to be a community bank, right? So someone who could really work with the local businesses and organizations to help meet their needs. But besides just being a business, we really look at it as being kind of a cornerstone of the community, being a good corporate citizen and working with businesses and working with nonprofits, help give them the products they need, but also to give a lot back to the community. We believe kind of the better the community does, the better we all do, right? So we try to help give a lot back as well.
And the founder was Walter Rasmussen,
Yes, my late father-in-law.
who is kind of a famous guy in Northeast. He was very much involved in politics and business, and not only in Minneapolis and Northeast, but throughout the state and nationally. He was a very prominent fellow in industry and banking in the United States.
Yes, unfortunately, he passed away, so I never got to meet him. But I've heard a lot of great stories about his experience. I know that he had a lot of connections to Mondale, et cetera.
Yeah, I did know Walter, and he was a marvelous guy. He did a lot for people, and he didn't want the credit. That was the amazing thing.
Right. He was really a community champion and a community builder,
He really was.
and that is the heart of what we do here.
And then, of course, his wife, Belva, carried on that same tradition.
Yes, it's also very important to her, and she's really worked to kind of further shape the bank culture and mission around that. Really, we're all about community. It's the heart of what we do.
You know, that's obvious. And what the other amazing thing about Northeast Bank is how long some of the folks have been here. And that speaks volumes. I mean, they like it here.
We think it does, right? So we have a large number of staff who've been here over 20 or over 30 years. We like to joke that we must have been lax child labor standards back in the day, but we really think it does show that it is a great place to work. It is like a family. So we try to give people opportunities, to try different things, to advance and grow, but make it a good, comfortable place to work. Keep them challenged, and I think something that our employees and managers all really enjoy is that commitment to community. So the fact that that's a regular part of our expectations of what people do is that they would be volunteering hours back in the community or helping serve on boards of nonprofits to help.
Yeah, I know you have community rooms here where you honor people in the neighborhood and have all kinds of neat activities.
Right, yes, we do have a community room down here, and that can seat pretty large crowds, and we do open that up to different business or nonprofit organizations to have meetings and functions there, as well as we also have our Free Spirit bingo parties down there as well, which are pretty popular.
Tell us about that.
So our Free Spirit Club is for our customers who are 50 or better, and also friends of theirs as well. So we do a number of different travel trips and things they can do, but also do bingo a couple times a year, and that's a lot of fun.
Those are day trips.
Yep, and I think there are a couple overnights as well, but we kind of organize those. People can sign up, but they can go near or far and have some pretty amazing experiences.
Well, that's an amazing idea. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Well, Sue Cecilius, who's our head of marketing, she has kind of helped, I think, put together and grow that whole program. So.
Yeah, I know Sue has helped us a lot in putting this program together. She's just great.
She's wonderful. We're really blessed to have her.
Where do you see banks like community banks like Northeast Bank going? What do you have to do to stay current in business and progressing?
Well, there's certainly a lot changing, right, in the banking industry and industries overall. I mean, certainly customer expectations about experience and about service are always evolving. So I think we need to stay attuned to that, and we need to kind of evolve and adjust what we offer with them. But I think there'll always be a place for community banks because we do banking a little bit differently, right? We base it around the relationship. So be it an individual or be it a business, we take the time to get to know them, to understand them. So if it's a small business owner, understanding what their vision is, what their plan is, kind of working with them on that and helping, kind of tailor an offering to them. So sometimes at bigger institutions or online options, you kind of have to check the boxes, and yes, then they can help you. But we have a little more flexibility to kind of tailor and give people a more personal approach. Same thing, besides lending, we also do a lot deposit services and cash management services for our business customers as well as nonprofits. And there, I think they really appreciate that personal touch. So it's not just offering products or services that could help them, but taking the time to understand their business, really matching up the right services for them, and then helping them get comfortable learning how to use them so they can really take advantage of them. And I think you can't get that same level of service, that same kind of personal touch at some of those bigger institutions. So I think that there will continue to be a place for community banks as long as they stay close to their customers, are responding to what customers want, responding to what else is happening in the industry, so that they're still providing competitive services and providing conveniences and making sure that that security and that personal touch is behind it as well.
Well, Eva, as we talk to you today, we're in your headquarter bank in Northeast Minneapolis on the corner of Broadway and Marshall Street Northeast, right across from the old Grainbelt Brewery. It's a beautiful old neighborhood.
It is.
And where are your other banks?
We also have a branch in Coon Rapids, and we have a new office in New Brighton. It's on Silver Lake Road, right off of 694 in Silver
You
Lake
just
Road.
got through building that, didn't you?
We actually just celebrated our 1-year anniversary there.
Yeah, wow. Well, the future looks bright for Northeast banks because they have very bright people, and it's going to be fun to watch them continue to grow and to contribute. And we want to thank you for visiting with us today. It's been a real pleasure, and here's to the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Neighborhood Health Source is a primary care medical clinic. We've been serving the neighborhoods of Northeast and North Minneapolis for about just over 45 years. Our philosophy is that everybody needs access to primary care medical services, and that the barriers that some people in our society face in getting that, whether they be language or financial or insurance coverage, whatever it may be, we're here to try to help them overcome those barriers and get the medical care they need. We're so proud and absolutely so fortunate that we've been partners with the bank, and it starts right from their ownership. The Rasmussens family has been very good, not just to our organization, but to a number of nonprofits here on the Northeast side. It extends from their family right down to all of their staff. Their president, Tom Beck, Sue Cecilius, their director of marketing, has been just a vital linkage for our organization.
I'm Dan Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of Catholic Elder Care. We are a long-term care provider of housing, supports, and services for older adults in Northeast Minneapolis. We've been here since 1983, founded by a group from the community. We at present have a full continuum of housing and supports available to older adults and their families. We have one independent apartment building. We have 2 assisted living communities. We're about to build a brand new 69-unit independent apartment building with services. We're very excited about that. We have a 150-bed nursing home. We have a 24-bed transitional care center. We have adult day. We have home care. We're all about community. We exist to respond to the needs the community has. We're not alone in that. If it was left up to us, we would not be able to accomplish the mission that we have. We've needed partners and friends and supporters and families. Northeast Bank is an integral part of that community. They've been a partner to us and with us for so many years. Tom Beck in particular, you couldn't ask for a better friend and partner than Tom Beck. He's just a great guy. There's nothing like the bank where you know their name, they know your name, they're glad to see you, they will sit down and listen to you and talk to you about the challenges you face and be a part of the solution. We couldn't do what we do without Northeast Bank. We're so grateful for them as a partner.
Well, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did in bringing it to you. It's a remarkable institution. It's a lot of fun. But what's more important is what they do in the way of outreach into this beautiful old community. Northeast Bank. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much.